Huge. Good morning, Vietnam. Opportunistically, DS Gaming meant that Navi and Navi weren't aware. They tried to disengage and they paid the price for it. Fnatic zombies go down. Finally, 5 teams, 18 players, finish of a wrangle.
Lamborghini sees a car of another brand and he's not happy, so he's going to mow that one down. And slow down the attempt of Geek Fam to actually get into the circle itself, but they got to get Myth, and Myth has been a relatively passive team this game, I would say, Imperium. So, in terms of nades, they must have an insane amount to deal with, and that would make that fight so easy versus Geek. Slow down the attempt of Geek Fam.
Valdez, though, staying on the outside of the circle. Are now starting to breach in. Lamborghini and Frankie to Garena. Get that knock and a kill onto Martin. That will at least, until that happens, Martin is just going to continue to push maybe a little bit more heavily onto the Xavier.
How about back to back? Into another top 3, and if they can, I mean, you said it earlier, right? Can we see them actually find closer to a game and get themselves a win? If they do so, they'll be creating such a really hard to surpass it in day 2, 3, or team starts running with the lead now. It's really hard to close off that gap afterwards. That's a great shot coming out from QB, but be careful, you're also in range of what's about to shift, and that's going to be the deciding factor of this game, as Snipes has the perfect angle underneath that car, and he gets himself Rio down on his knees, and he's trying to shut down the entirety of Myth. Goes to the spray here, switches over to the M4, taking a lot of damage, and Fam is there to assist him, and Myth are getting completely overwhelmed, as only Farok is going to be up and ready to go, but unfortunately has no good spot to fight from.
Like, that was beautiful for Geek Fam, right? Snipes led the way, and then when he started to take a bit of damage, he stepped back and just suppressing your opponents beautifully. Farok can go nowhere as the circle shifts towards Valdez. This is incredible.
Still have a player that's currently a little bit further out. Not sure who it is exactly, but he's trying to make sure he gets rid of
Martin,
Xavier. I think it might be Martin, yeah, trying to get rid of the Xavier. They're trying to sneak forward. Luckily they got a rock to play from, so that could create a little bit of an advantage, but great use of the utility. And as you said, Martin is indeed going to be the one trying to be the thorn in the side of the Xavier. Team Myth will be eliminated of this one, so now only 4 teams remain. The Xavier, 10 kills out of nowhere after that last fight was Na'Vi. Now they're looking to try and take more and more control. Lamborghini on the forefront, Frankie ready to join up too, while leaving Rabbids on the more back end of things to maybe be that insurance for the team. The smokes dissipate, and now it's anybody's game.
The Japanese team got 1 kill in game 1. Game 2, they did pick it up, grabbing 3 kills, and in this game, they're looking good in the top 4 with 6 kills. Have been very strong on their rotations on the west, but now can they deal with the might of the Malaysian Geek? Bam, as their shots are being fired up.
So close. Oh, that was such a close spray. A little bit more to the left, and that would have been a knocked on duello. Down to 50%. Geek Fam still has a 4-man, and they are trying to take 2 fights at the exact same time versus Free and also Xavier. But it's actually working out significantly well. Frankie's knocked down first. Duello will be the next one to follow up.
Controlling the south.
Smokes
controlling the north.
Oh, that's the run up. That's the Vine going for it with UMP. Not off Bellets. They've got to pre-fire, but you've got to be careful when you pre-fire with such a weapon. And he's going to be taken out instantly. Reject out in now 4. 3 teams yet remain. And Valdez is once again get a top 3 back to back to back, making the unthinkable possible in this World Invitational.
They have a full squad. It's all theirs. It's theirs to lose.
Perfect game. There's no escape. Literally nothing you can do unless you get one clutch nade or molly to push them out of a hay bale, then maybe things can work out. Skill is going to be spotted away. Great spray from Snipes. And he's instantly going for the kill. He has the eyes on the prize, Imperium. He wants to get as many points as possible. Now down to 3. Will that be enough for Valdez to get the win? We'll have to see.
And the revive was played out onto... They're down to 3. Xavier is left to one. And look at Frankie, he's crawling around. He's looking for information. Let's see if Rabis can do something with that info.
Yeah, that's a good thing when you're playing in these field finishes. That nade way too close for comfort. I think they just redone his hair for a quick second. But Frankie will be confirmed out by QB. 8 kills over to GeekFam 2. Seemed like that reposition we talked about, getting the information on the high ground was so important for them to get in this spot in the first place. And now they're sneaking, and you've got to keep in mind, Imperium, there's a little bit of an overhang that is going in favor of GeekFam. That's extra information that fights versus Valdez and GeekFam.
Second they breach over the hill, they've no cover. That makes it harder.
Yeah, that's the Xavier out in third. Nice game, still a lot of kills, and especially being in third, that's 10 position points coming your way, so still a banger for them. Now the fights are going to be happening. GeekFam still getting pushed away. Concept going to be spotted out. Maybe I caught it a little bit too soon. I thought they were going to be the game coming their way, but no, Valdez are struggling to hold on to the edge, and they are getting completely surrounded by foes. GeekFam are taking the most control. 6 is going to be still up and ready to go, but he's the last player remaining, and he loses his life in the process, as that's going to be the game lost for Valdez the Murder, and that will be GeekFam taking himself the game over here on game number 3 on Orangle. What a game indeed, and the information game, Imperium, is the name of the game for them, and that is what rewarding them with the win at the very end.
So well controlled for GeekFam. They did really deserve that chicken dinner. That is one thing to be said. They did deserve that chicken dinner on how they played on the south, and dealing with Reject, dealing with a Myth, dealing with somewhat Xavier. Like, and to still survive as a full squad, it speaks highly of how they set themselves up throughout the whole game. But also, to be fair, Valdez did throw that end game. They did. I hate to sound bad, but they threw that end game for all the strength I give them. It was a bit of an F.
There was a little bit of an F coming out from them. It was a really good attempt, but it seemed like the one little shot that GeekFam were able to find created that huge man advantage, and that man advantage is what allowed them to take more control. They wrapped around, they wanted to suffocate the opposing team, and it worked out great at the end. So, good execution from GeekFam. I think they were one of the teams that were seen from a lot of the viewers, and I think I saw people on social media especially say that they think GeekFam could surprise a lot of people, and that's exactly what they did on this performance. Though, we want to see this more. We didn't see something like this on game 1. We didn't see something like this on game 2. Hoping to see something a little bit more consistency. Ready for all you guys at home to break down a few of the plays, because this was a very action-packed, and a lot of smart rotations did come out from a lot of the teams in this game.
Some really smart rotations, but let's be fair though, circle shifts weren't kind in the sense of it forced so many teams to play an edge of circle strategy, and not a lot of teams I feel are really set up for that in a massively controlling way, and that was just one of the unfortunate things. Navi really had the ability to, I think, get a much better result, but after taking down I-8, they really should have made sure that they had their backs covered. They clearly would have heard the shots between Xavier and DS. Why didn't they look behind them before they looked to disengage, right? You can see it on your screens. Xavier just absolutely wiped them out. That shouldn't have happened.
I think that they were expecting to have very little nades remaining for the enemy team, so they regrouped, and they were trying to get into a car to start moving forward, and that one nade just ruined everything. I think it was double, potentially even a triple knock at that one nade, and they could not do anything against it. So Xavier actually holding on to that grenade, or holding on to that utility a little while longer, actually was the difference maker in the grand scheme of things, and it worked great. As we'll see them moving on forward, as now we're looking at the replay at the end of that game, and this is what I loved of GeekFam. Create an even bigger lead and advantage for yourself, and once you do that, and you know you've got such a big lead that you cannot lose the game, you go for the push, and the execution was so clean yet simple. This is what you love to see coming out from a team like GeekFam.
Yeah, really good. They have a lot of support, and just really, really beautiful to see. I know Valdez kind of threw the game, but we do have to recognize that at the end of the day, in every single game so far, they have secured a top 3. That in itself is pretty damn pog.
I was about to say, we can't argue with a 3 top. Great game coming from GeekFam, and I think there's a lot of intricacies that need to be broken down. So you know what? Who better to do that than the Desk Boys themselves, as we'll head on over to there right after this break.
COVID-19 vaccines are already helping millions of us get back to normality. still out of reach. The vast majority of vaccines are going to wealthier countries, leaving the world's most vulnerable people behind. The COVAX initiative is working to right this wrong worldwide. This is not only the right thing to do, it is one of our best routes out of this global pandemic. As new variants continue to evolve, we know that as long as the virus is circulating somewhere, nowhere is safe. Gavi, through COVAX, is helping to provide vaccines at no cost to 92 lower-income countries. It has already delivered over 80 million vaccines worldwide. With your help, we can protect millions more people, ensure no one is left behind, and help bring an end to this pandemic.
I've got a difficult mission for you. Who's in? Close to 1 billion people from 92 of the world's poorest countries need to be vaccinated. You'll need to work closely with governments and health authorities. And it will take millions of volunteers. And it has to be cheap. This is a mission only a few organizations can handle. It is the world's biggest and fastest distribution of a vaccine ever. Equipment such as needles, canisters, visors, protective suits, and sanitizer need to be in place first. All of this has to be transported to the most inaccessible corners of the world. The vaccine has to be kept cold constantly. If not, it's all for nothing. And when the vaccine gets close, a population without mobile phones or internet needs to get the message. Thousands of health workers have to be trained to perform vital work. No one is safe until everyone is vaccinated, so we can't stop until that's a reality. But even though we're doing this because lives are on the line, this is real life and not a game. You don't get a new life if you fall, or if you drown trying to save lives. We have no lives to lose, but we're willing to risk a lot to vaccinate the whole world. As long as the virus exists, the whole world is in danger.
There's a darkness on me that's flooded in light. In the fine print that tell me what's wrong and what's right. And it comes in black and it comes in white, and I'm frightened by those. There was a dream, and one day I could see it. Like a bird in a cage, I broke in and demanded. And there was a kid with a head full of doubt. So I screamed till I died. The last of those bad thoughts are finally out. বেশি বেশি লাইভ স্ট্রিম করবেন না। আপনারা চেষ্টা করবেন 2 মাস অথবা 3 মাস অন্তর অন্তর লাইভে আসা, তাহলে আপনার চ্যানেলটা সুন্দরভাবে গ্রো করবে।
The PubG Mobile World Invitational is powered by Gamers Without Borders and brought to you by OnePlus, the official smartphone provider, Nemo TV, the official streaming platform, and STC, the official playout sponsor. But ladies and gentlemen, we are 3 games into our very first day here at the PMWI, and we still have many more matches to come up, not only in just East, but we also have an entirely other division, other conference to go to with West a little bit later on today once this show finishes up. I'm Jason Kaplan, still your host. I haven't been fired just yet, but that can change. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. And I have our 2 fantastic analysts, Blake and Blair, as well, joining me here in a virtual world, though we're not here together in person. So guys, match 3 done. Geek Fam taking home the chicken dinner. Fantastic start by them. They had a little bit of a rough start overall in the event, but we'll get straight into our match results so we can kind of see how many points all the teams did get, though, in this last game.
Off game number 2 there, but the way they played this one, just like absolute perfection, right? They were playing the zone pretty well. Again, not afraid to take the fights, which is fantastic. And I gotta say, all the names who are coming out on top, you know, Valdez, you have Reject, DX, Geek Fam, and it's been the story for me personally these past 3 games. They have been toppling some of the big names here. I especially enjoyed how Reject completely dismantled DRS as well. Navi, a little unfortunate there, Blank. Like, they were looking really good, completely wiping out Zeus and I8, but then inevitably not able to do much more after that.
Yeah, I mean, you actually see those kind of circles come through where it's like totally central on Na'Vi with the fields all around them, and you might think to yourself that's a really good thing, but looking back on it now, I can pretty much say it wasn't the best shift for them because it centralized so much attention on them that they had literally about 8 teams come from the southeast to challenge their location, and I think there's only so much you can do in that situation. Tixie made a bold play where he moves out, tries to take some shots, but unfortunately goes down, and I think that was kind of the best that could have happened in that situation, realistically. I think he did a great stall job, but it was just a matter of time before they got dismounted there, Blair.
Yeah, and then, yeah, Zeus, Bigatron, A1, Blacklist, I guess they just want to probably forget what happened there. That was rough. That was just a rough outing for all these, like, these names in particular.
Yeah, I think this is unfortunately becoming a common occurrence for Zeus after we talked about in match 1, the fantastic showing up for the event, again, continuing their performance from PMGC. But I think this is 2 games back-to-back where they've had themselves 0 points. Bigatron as well, not sporting too well, but, you know, we're not really seeing the level of consistency out of Bigatron that we got to see back in Malaysia in 2018. But either way, we are starting to see some new contenders rise up through the ranks, and the first team we do want to talk about, well, we'll actually touch on that in a few seconds here when we take a look at overall standings so you guys get an idea of where all the teams currently do stand in our overall leaderboard. Valdez, this team, we knew them in different, you know, incarnations previously as different names, but they've definitely shown up here, Blake. They've definitely become a team that everyone has to watch out for, as you're seeing in our overalls.
Yeah, 13 points ahead of Geek Fam, who are currently set at 37. But honestly, for Valdez, in that game, what I saw was a team that, sure, they came second, but they had a lot of confidence on side. Martin took a very aggressive angle. They'd actually pushed out the majority of the circle, so about 50% of it was completely barren, with Valdez taking the majority of it. And I think some of those off angles were maybe less ideal than others. I think Martin had a really good one. Gui, unfortunately, pushing up into the grass where he's actually looking uphill means that the player towards those hay bales looking down can easily spot that body in the hay itself. So I think that was maybe a bit of a misplay, but the main thing is that they're playing with confidence, and coming into the first day with that kind of confidence just flows into the rest of this elite competition. So you know that Valdez is getting off to a really good start. Malaysian team and Geek Fam though in second place. Honestly, I'm really proud of these guys. I'm really proud of Malaysia overall because they have just been pumping out talent. I think they've had a couple of players been taken over to Team Secret now, but Geek Fam, they still stand tall here.
Yeah, I'll say this, and like it's amazing to me and great to see, you know, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, South Korea, Nepal, like in our top 5 right now. These are 5 countries that I wouldn't necessarily expect to be up this high out. Well, I mean, not necessarily this high. I'm not trying to talk about it in a negative way, but more of I was expecting Navi, you know, from Russia to do better than what they're currently doing. Bigatron from Indonesia able to do better. I'm happy to see Reject here from Japan actually be 6th place because of how big PUBG Mobile is in Japan and how much money they have coming into the scene for their events.
Yeah, and I think this is something we alluded to in the pre-game segments as well, where we're talking about how if you look at the format of this tournament, it's not that many games. If you start off with a bang, it could really work out in your favor. And as you said, all these SCA teams, you have Thailand, you have Malaysia, you have Vietnam, and DS Gaming as well from South Korea. DRS Gaming, I know they're not the big favorites, but they're a team for me I always knew could deliver, so I'm not too surprised to see them here in 5th position after 3 games. But yeah, everyone here has been doing a fantastic job, and it's pretty much almost the entirety of Southeast Asia being presented in that top 8 position. And on the other half, it's been a little rough here. I think one team, I know Navi have had some hits, it's been struggling a little bit for Navi, but the one name which for me is it's looking a little grim has to be A1 and I8. After 3 games, still languishing in the bottom 4. It's not something I personally expected to see from the Bangladeshi and the Pakistani team.
I think when you look at competitions like this, I feel like it's really easy to go into the mindset of, oh, you know, Nazar, not a great team, A1, not a great. But I think we all need to keep in mind is you're playing against like the best teams in the world right now, right? There has to be teams that are in 16th, 15th, 14th place, and you know, you put Nazar Sports into a different event and they can easily and have been #1 within their own region, right? So I feel like we need to give a little bit of slack to all these teams, and we know the potential they all have as well. But I agree with you, definitely A1 after seeing what they can do back in PMGC in the league stage. We know that potential. They're just not able to hit that kind of stride just yet. But one team that has hit the stride that Blake, you want to touch on in particular, it's Valdez Esports. I want to dive into their player stats so far because they have been performing on all cylinders. Martin in particular has definitely been someone you've been keeping your eye on.
100%. I mean, this team is very, very damn good. And I mean, just look at these average placement points. I mean, 16.67, you're basically looking at 17 points a game. And you know, we would really ideally say a team towards the top of a competition like this would be hitting around about 14, 15 points per game. So they're already above and beyond what is pretty much a first place team's position here. So really, really good stuff from Valdez so far. Honestly, I want to see these guys succeed from Thailand. I think they've been having a lot of rough events where they've come so close to glory and it's just been pulled back from them. But right now they're laying out the carpet for success.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd love to see teams that are taking advantage of the situation to play against other teams of such high caliber to improve themselves and really make themselves stand out. And one team we always talk about when we're, you know, discussing playing against teams of the utmost caliber, it's going to be Bigatron, and we want to dive into their player stats actually and see one thing in particular, if I'm not mistaken, the survival time and how it's been affecting their team, because we have seen, I think, 2 matches right now in a row where they've had a bit of a struggle.
For sure. And I think Liquid there, obviously with 19 minutes survival time, Zuxi with their 18, but Luxy down there in 14 minutes. It's a little bit unfortunate. A lot of the players do go out quite early, Blur.
Oh yeah, and that's just rough, and that's something you don't expect to see from a team like Bigatron. I could even like throw in names like DRS as well, where, you know, I feel like they tend to lose players very, very early in the game, which is not exactly something which would be part of the game plan. These are the sort of teams who want to take it slow. Yep.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're going to lose ourselves right now because the game is ready to go. So you two, get out of here. The blue zone is taking you away from me. And it's time to drop in with our casters yet again with Max Man and Imperium. So let's bring them in here in just a second and get things going here with match number 4.
I feel bad for you guys on the desk. Hey, you guys speeding up. But snappy games happening right now, Imperium. Come on. You know what? On the desk, stop talk, start game, okay? That's what we want at the end of the
Terrible. Absolutely terrible, you know. What, do they want to cast as well? No.
No, stop talk, just game. Just game.
Stop talk, just game. Okay, well, we have this game, game 4 of the day in Miramar. It's our first Miramar of the PMWI, Max, and that playing path It's a little bit tricky for any teams that like to go towards the southwest, but because it's diagonal, I do think it allows for the most part pretty much all these teams to get to their respective drop spots.
Yeah, the most important thing when you drop in Miramar is knowing also the car spawn. So if you want to drop in, I don't know, the March or Macera, it is still easily possible for you to get to that spot purely by just knowing a drop location where there are cars, get into it and take one of the high roads and get into that spot. There you go, so I'm not really expecting too much to happen in this game, though one thing I do want to mention, and that's going to be about BTR. They have been having a real rough time on these games. They talked about a few of the stats, especially Luxy having a real hard time himself. I think an average survival time, I believe it was of 14 minutes, which is extremely
that is very low.
BTR ratio. Miramar is I would say one of their best maps. I think they perform the best on it, and they are really strong when it comes to their rotation. So this could be the one to put them back on the saddle, put them back into the running. But it's going to require a lot because now you're a little bit behind, and as Blair said multiple times on the desk, there's not that many games. So now is the point in time where we need to look at BTR and be like, okay, now you get serious, and now you get into the game.
But we also know that BTR are easily the kind of team that can just turn the heat up at the
like PMGC,
right?
Yeah,
at a dime they can just turn the heat up and they'll go from like 0 to 100 in a matter of minutes, so to speak. So I know that they'll pull that out. Looking at where teams are dropping, see a little bit of a cluster in Los Leones with I-8 going for a split drop outside of Los Leones. A1 are already there. The Xavier are going to be on that western side. And when I was talking to Crypto, and he's saying because it's a very big area, and you can shift down to the south to the west, to the east, to the north, and even it should be okay. And the goal is on towards the northeastern side of the map. So they are going to have a little rotating in depending on the timing if they rotate in at the same time as A1 or the Xavier. It could be one thing I noticed dropped in Picado, Max. Nobody at all. It's free.
They changed it, so intrigued to know what the game plan is for them at least this time. Though I want to touch upon what you said of maybe being a little bit hard to move away from Los Leones for them, because we see the plane path. And one thing that I think a lot of these teams, literally all these teams are the best team of their country. You're at this tournament, that is why you're at this level of play, and they know how to read circles and also plane path entry points. Here you're looking at, so I'm expecting very easy things to come out. Though, there's not going to be any esports on to Yalla Esports, and Yalla being extremely spread away from each other, actually doing command. There's nothing you can do, and Yalla Esports just give away and just seeing this time versus DS Gaming.
And it's also even worse because the Team Beta is the one that has coming into later stages, reacting really well. We've seen, and a trait that we've seen from them in the game so far, right? They react very well to anything that happens around them, whether it's a circle shift, whether it's a team around them. Their ability to just make that decision, and that comes down to strong IGLing and good communication to the team with the team, shows that they are more than able to compete with the best across the world.
Oh, very clearly, I think so. So, okay, just going to jump on over. He's going to be making it out of the range of DS Gaming. But I find this very interesting, and that's something that Jason talked about on the desk, is normally when you talk about South Korea and gaming, especially on FPS, they are really strong. And when I've watched a few of the Korean tournaments happen for PubG Mobile, it seems like the meta over there is very orientated towards strong rotations, 10,000 IQ rotations. You're like, wow, I didn't even think of that. I didn't think it was even possible. And I think that the gunplay was missing, should I say? Especially when I'm thinking back on the PMGC League stage, we had Archer, right? And I had actually quite a few. I had a lot of issues with Archer back in the day. But the rotations were pretty strong, but how they took fights was very weak. And it seemed like things have evolved, and now they have improved. Not only just this team, but the entire South Korean the ecosystem of PubG Mobile has improved, and now they are ready to take these fights, and that is definitely something you need when you are taking fights versus the best teams of their own respective countries.
Totally agree with you. Error from Reject goes down. Yes, pick another kill off. That's 2. Keep on coming, guys. That's what DS are saying. Keep on coming. Come on. Come on. Feed me more. Feed me more. I'll take it all day, every day. Fantastic start for them. Reject's rotation with Scout fortunately doesn't work out. Valdez are still in San Martin, which I worry about a little bit. Now it's more on the western edge of San Martin, which I think is okay. But again, the timing of their disengagement away from the city is going to be incredibly important. DRS dropped in power grid. They moved a little bit more heavily up north now into a centralized position, quite high up, overlooking Crater Fields Hill, the hill outside El Pozo, outside of San Martin and Hacienda. DRS are in a fantastic position right now, but they're also looking to even go deeper in by going up onto that hill outside El Pozo.
And every time we talk about DRS and then playing onto this map of Miramar, I think back on PMGC League stage when we had one of the most insane finishes. It was Nepal versus Nepal, Abrupt Slayers versus DRS, and it was one of the most interesting and hyped up matches that I've seen in a long time. And it's great to see the Nepali region in general seems to be really strong on Miramar. They are some of the best, I would say, on there very clearly when you're looking at the international stage, and DRS just encapsulates that kind of mindset, and their rotations show it, especially in this game, right? You just mentioned Nepal and Miramar is just like a cocktail and a great recipe for success, and hopefully that could now reward them with, I was going to say a win, but actually that would be another win. They got himself a win on Sanhok, so we'll see if they can get himself a double whammy coming their way.
Maybe GeekFam will be the first team to get a back-to-back.
Also, yeah.
Dropped in El Pozo, they've gone a little bit up north, more towards the Crater Fields Hill. Close to Navi though. Navi dropped in the Cobra area and they're going down south. So a lot of teams kind of thinking a little bit similarly to a strong area of this phase 1. The only problem about being on the kind of western side of Crater Fields is you get towards the eastern side of the map, and if phase 2 shifts down to southeast, that will of course make a look to our on the very
I'm having a with Myth.
Just having a hard time
casting with you. I think I'm having a hard time. Bro, you dissed my pancakes earlier, okay? That was not okay. It was completely out of the realm of things you should be allowed to say against me, so I just had to fight back. No, I love casting with you, man, you know it. But Team Myth, they tend to do too much, I would say. I'm having a hard time with Myth. Just having a hard time casting with you. I think I'm having a hard time. Bro, you dissed my pancakes earlier, okay? That was not okay. From time to time, this is great. On the circle like this, I think that's great, but now, and especially with the phase 2 like that, the circle, maybe not center, but actually get in there. They play in the blue quite a bit, and I think especially on that Sanhok game we had earlier, so playing edge is fine, and playing in the blue is fine if you want to delay that rotation, but when you have to push into the circle, you can't delay it. The more you delay it, the slimmer the chances are that you're actually going to be in a good spot with 4 players remaining.
I agree. The fact that they've got 3 kills in 3 games speaks for itself. Sinister nearly getting caught out. Nasser looking to finally start off their day 1 of PMWI. Disappointing performances so far from Nasser, representing Jordan. Strong country when they're given the opportunity. Dante playing a forward though. A1 are not to be messed about with this though, let's be fair. They lit up the scene back in PMGC. They stole so many hearts, and since then they have been realistically the best team and the biggest representatives of Bangladesh and PubG Mobile esports, and they're not looking to stop anytime soon.
I wonder if Dante's still mad about the nade on Sanhok. He's gonna get Sinister back at some point, I can tell you, man. He's gonna get him. But it's a little bit of back and forth, just mostly around information gathering. Sinister was able to heal up back to 75 to 80% HP, so he's gonna be ready to take this fight. And he's got to be careful. He's got that gun peeking over the hill, so that's something A1 could capitalize on. It's Dante trying to move on down. I think they understand that HMDA is just completely spread, and they are slowly going this way. They have no idea. Sinister instantly bites the bullet. Not going to be able to go for the flush just yet, though. He has to peek on over, and he will put himself at risk of 6ix9ine from the other side, actually taking himself down. And this, exactly as I said, you should not go for the flush, otherwise you're going to get instantly punished. And Jackson, also 6ix9ine, are going to go for the full-on push. And yeah, that is the flush to cost them too much.
Yeah, but unfortunately, his low-key gone against him now as Dante's being knocked down inside the blue. Hassan is going to be pushing forward. Confirm that kill 6ix9ine. Happy days, and now push in. I don't know if Dante is going to be able to get revived up. I would argue it's not even worth it because he's already in the blue. Phase 2 is closing in. You're not that far away from the edge of the circle. Cut your losses, A1, and continue on as a 3-man team. Don't stay there.
Not bad for Dante, man. He's having a rough day. But we'll be able to make it back throughout the next 3 days. I am sure about it. Though, moving on forward. Gonna start moving out. Said the blue zone gonna be on top of it. It's only phase 2, so we're gonna be fine. We want to try and hold on to those resources. You might have a few standoffs later on down the line, so you want to have as much
Exactly.
you can potentially hold on to yourself. As they're gonna be moving out. Though, interesting thing, we saw them 249. For all you guys out there that maybe just watch esports from time to time and maybe don't play the game too much and you just enjoy the esports side of things, the most recent update of PubG Mobile allowed the M249 to actually spawn not in crates, but anywhere around the map. Sure, it's a little bit rarer than, for example, your M4s and such, but now instead of having the M249 being this special weapon that you see very rarely and that destroys everyone, now it's a normal weapon. So that is something to keep in mind, that you could very easily get squad wiped if you have an M249 against you.
It was nerfed a little bit as far as I know.
Of course, yes, it had
size, but it is still powerful in its own way. Myth, I believe, have gotten a kill onto one of the reject players who are now down to 2, Divine and Lapis, so that's good by Myth to recognize an opportunity to get a kill. Phase 3, though, shifting down south into the Picado Hills along with San Martin in play, and Valdez's position is absolutely spot on. It's that kind of massive, I suppose, kind of like a Titanic level kind of front row seat information position that Valdez hold on to. They overlook San Martin. They're able to get an eye on teams that are on the southern side of the circle as well as the north and the west. So Valdez are in the perfect position unless they of course get breached.
We'll see as here we go, that's the fight happening. A1 gonna get marched upon, tipping on their toes. That's gonna be Fnatic Zombie. Salam had no idea what's about to hit him on the head and he instantly gets bonked out of the lobby. Fnatic Zombies now have the intel that A1 is in fact in a position right up north of where they are, so they're going to try and go for the long way around, wrap around, avoid the fight. We're talking about avoiding the fight. DRS trying their best to avoid it, but they just can't. They have to crash inside the compound. Neeman, Math, and Ninja are going to be pinned down in this location. The nades are going to be flying on by. Galzin could be knocked on down. The nade a little bit too short on the throw. Unfortunately, as Galzin able to actually make it over, but they're even getting shot from high above. Zeus has seen this unfold from a distance, like, what's happening here? We're just going to take all the kills and snatch it for ourselves.
Of course, opportunity to third party. It's something that Zeus are very open to. And look, I get with DRS. They kind of committed to that more western side of the circle on phase 1, phase 2. But the hill that Zeus holds on to, DRS should have been there. To be honest, from phase 1, that's the hill that I was really looking at DRS going to. But because they didn't, they're paying the price for it. They're not out of the game just yet. They've only lost 1 player. And because Zeus is kind of overlooking for the other side of the hill, GeekFam are a little bit distracted by Zeus more than DRS. So that allows DRS to at least stay out of sight, out of mind.
God. We got nice little bot action coming out actually from down below with the car 98. Gotta be careful, don't pick your head out too much. Oh, I thought that was going to be a connection for a second onto Ziol, but you'll be able to hold on to it. Gotta say, we opened our PMGC cards right recently, and I got like, I think I got 30 or 40 Ziols. Hey, it's a cool card, but it's got a lot of the lads.
Also, I have a signature Ably. Just putting that out there.
Oh, true.
I have Ably's signature, and I have Tixie's.
Man of culture, I see. Man of culture.
No, so I'm their
trade.
one fan.
We'll have a few trades going out as Xavier now going to be pushing their way forward. Also, they're looking to enter from the northern edge. Though, if the circle goes down south, so many teams are going to be forced to take these fights, especially, for example, Navi and Xavier. So this shift is going to mean a lot. But actually, this is amazing for Zeus. Hey, entirety of their hill on which they are currently in the position, is currently inside the circle. They don't have to move, while they can still keep pressure down on DRS and GeekFam down below. This is huge for them. That could result in a lot of kills coming their way.
But you also can't get tunnel vision, right? Because now there's a free opportunity for IA to breach on top of the hill and maybe pick Zeus from the side. And I think Icy is going a little bit more towards the south to try and be aware of that. So Zeus, good thinking. Again, don't get tunnel vision. Looking at Navi though, they have a 2-2 split inside this circle. Very interesting. I don't agree with it, to be honest, because we're in phase 4 already. It's that time of the game where you really need to stick as a full squad or 3-1, so you're ready to protect the stranglehold of your position inside the circle. While Myth starting to wake up, put on a little bit of makeup and get a little bit crazy up inside this Miramar map.
Or Divine is hoping, they know this was only a knock and they're now to go for the flight. They should be aware that there's a chance the player's going to be here. Divine goes for the shot. AKM in hand, goes for the bloom shot, but only one bullet is all you need, and that's it for Reject. Unfortunately for them, the Japanese team is going to be out of the game in 16th. First team to be eliminated on this Miramar game, and the only Miramar game of the day actually, so you need to try and have the impact while you still can. But now all the teams are actually moving in, and actually not many squad wipes. Seeing how big this circle is and how little amount of teams are actually inside the circle, I was expecting us to be maybe down to, maybe 13 or 14 by now, but it's a lot slower than expected.
It's just teams have kind of lost a player or two and then disengaged away. So we still have the high volume of teams, but we are down to 50 players, with 6 being taken out from Valdez. Is an opening for Blacklist International to push up this hill towards this compa, but Yala are somewhat around them. Nasser are as well, despite those two teams being down to a sliver of players. Well, Zeus, they've created a little bit of a gap for possibly GeekFam and DRS breaching onto the edge of the circle, but it realistically makes sense because they have to worry about I8 on the other side, like I pointed out earlier on.
Not gonna lie, this is the first time I'm casting GeekFam, and I'm already a fan of their rotations. I mentioned the rotation they did early game, last game in Gatka Fields to get the high ground, get the intel, and to facilitate further rotations. It resulted in them taking the game, and now they actually extract themselves away from this fight between DRS, Zeus, and themselves, and now they are controlling the northern side. Not only are they in circle, but they can also snap and grab a few kills onto Zeus or even DRS in the process. It's so simple yet so effective. I'm loving how GeekFam is playing, and their take on PubG Mobile is so out there, and I think it's just rewarding them with such consistency that if they can do this all the time, we might see them be first at the end.
Hope that comes to fruition. Till that happens, there's a lot of teams around them that are ready to challenge, contest, push into their limits. For GeekFam, I would love to see them actually wrap around the side of that building and go to the compound. I feel like that's a little bit of a safer option, shift in that direction. I understand if they don't have vehicles, they might be afraid to head towards that area as Fnatic zombies and I8 are engaging. Icy comes in to get a backstab from behind, puts even more pressure on I8, and they lose a player.
Fnatic zombies from United Arab Emirates. Must give it a fair shot, but seem like it will not go any further apparently. That's going to be the end of their story on this Miramar game, as they're going to have to now leave the other teams around them, move their way forward. Yala Esports also getting picked away. There you go. This is the tipping point. This is the moment where I thought there's not enough space to fight from, but now the teams are slowly but surely getting decimated one by one. Fnatic Zombies, NASA, Reject, and Yala Esports will be the first 4 teams to be taken out. Now only 12 shall remain and prevail, but Na'Vi still for a relatively big spread in this circle, just now phase 5. Is this too much? Are they bouncing down more than they can shoot?
No, sorry, never mind that. We've got BTR breaching upon A1. The PMGC battle.
We'll see.
Comes back up. Who's going to come out on top? It seems like BTR are in a much better position because A1 are closer to the high ground, although that's working out.
Nice.
Then Zeus from behind and a lovely grenade.
For the PMGC, man, that's a double! Zoxy, you're smurfing it with those nades, what are you doing? Gonna get a third, a little bit short, we'll get some tick damage down onto Jackson now with the M249, he picked it up in a building earlier, and he's ready to mow down the competition. Sinister has nothing to do, he is just a slither of HP remaining, and he is taken down. BTR get vengeance for the PMGC, and has 4 kills coming their way.
Man, has the Kryptonite turned around? Are BTR now A1's Kryptonite? Well, look, for the time being, that has been the case, but we switch on over to DS Gaming, being put under so much pressure as Myths. What has happened to them in this 4th game? Doing so much better, but Sporta catching them off guard.
Oh, they didn't expect it to actually push out that building. Rio trying to get the intel. Maybe just nade. Do they not have nades? What nade is who needs been on top of Sporter? I think they did go for the molly inside. Yeah, they put the molly inside of it. There you go. He had to jump out. Gonna go for the spray once again. No, Sporter, you're just ruining all for mid. Down to once again a few HP with the AK. Gonna have to reload. Get himself his nade, ready to go. For ZZP from DS Gaming is going for the wraparound mid. Still able to hold on to just 2 HP, and they do get it done. That's the South Korean team out of the game. Broly holding his life by a thread. Can he get his team back on the saddle and back in the game, or are they about to get taken down by the teams around them?
Oh, Myth got a gift from Blacklist. Believe it or not, that was a third party from Blacklist, who are even ignoring now Myth and allowing those full revives to be played out. BTR pushing onto that compound. CS Zeus have gone there as well. Geek Fam are there as well. It makes sense. We're in the late stages of the game. You kind of gotta take what you can get in terms of hard cover, because the open high ground is not easy to deal with.
I can certainly see also on the minimap on the top right of your screen. No one wants to go dead center. It is not great terrain. Literally nothing to fight from. So they're trying to avoid it like the plague. Who actually goes on top of it? There's no avoiding it apparently. You're gonna have to go smack that center. I know. Hey, I said I'm the evil caster, right? I love to see. I press the button, boom. Worst circle you could ever ask for goes right there. Zeus have yet to move forward though, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, that's an amazing shot. Concept gonna be like, what? Where did that come from? I have no idea. Zeus still has a 4-man. They need to start. That's going to make that shift so much easier for themselves.
The Savior putting the left on their own, but he's in amongst BTR, right? So,
I'm new idea.
I'm not yellow, I'm red, you know?
It's treason then, he jumps on out. Can he get the double? No, he only gets one. Liquid was so low. Almost able to pick himself up at 1v2. It's still performances like